In New York City, but I'm still going to do this lesson for you. It's on Autumn Leaves, and this is going to show you how to solo. I did a video on how to comp and play the melody and all of that. If you look up Learn Autumn Leaves on Piano by Weekly Piano, you'll see that. But this one, before I showed you how to do the bass and the comping and the melody. Chops are a little burned. Anyway, now I'm going to show you how to actually solo, which means like that sort of thing. Anyway, to learn how to solo over Autumn Leaves, you first need to get familiar with your modes. So I recommend practicing your scales in these particular modes. One being G, I'm sorry, not G. It starts on C. So C minor, which in this case we'll play C Dorian, which means 1, 2, minor 3, 4, 5, major 6, flat 7, 1. So be able to do that because you'll use that in your solo when you're on that chord. That is reminiscent of one of my favorite solos, by the way, is Cannonball Adderley's solo on his version of Autumn Leaves on the record of him with Miles. Miles was playing in his group for this particular record. And he does a lot of stuff like... Man, there's too much reverb on this piece. Let me turn the reverb down. Jeez. Okay. So he'll do stuff like that. Check out Cannonball Adderley Autumn Leaves. Anyway, so learn your scales. So that's the first one is here. The second one is F with the dominant 7. But you could also do the yeah, no, for now let's just leave it at that. You know, you'll put the flat 9 and all that stuff on there, but that comes later. Then B flat major. Then E flat major. Well, with the sharp 11. So, Lydian? Is that Lydian? Somebody write in the comments, tell me if I'm wrong, but I think that's Lydian. And then you have you have A half diminished, which you could play in a number of ways. You could play so some people do that. I actually prefer so you're really playing it's like a G natural minor. It's all the notes of a G natural minor. You know, when you have a G natural minor, it's 1, 2, flat 3, 4, 5, flat 6, flat 7, 1. So it's like that, but you're starting on A, and it's the same notes. That way you do like... And then you get to G... it's not G. D. Which that's simple D Mixolydian. But if you want to spice it up, use the flat 9. And the flat 6, and it'll sound really cool. So you do your scale like that. Yeah, I don't even know the fingering, I'm sorry. Back to the 1. And then you could also do minor there. So those are your scales. Then when it rotates around for the bridge, it's the same scales because it just flips the 2-5-1. In fact, if you don't know the changes, I went through the changes, I'm pretty sure, in the other video, but very briefly, I'll just go through the changes so that you can get them. It's all 2-5-1s. So you start with the 2-5-1 in B flat. 2, minor 2, to the 5, to the 1, which is B flat, to the 4 of B flat. Now you're modulating to the relative minor, which is G minor. So you're doing A half diminished, D altered, dominant 7, to to G minor. Sorry, I have not slept literally at all last night. I was flying from the Art of the Cool festival where I was playing with some cats out there. So that's the A section, then you do it again, and then there's the B section, which is just the reverse of that. First you do the 2-5-1 in G minor, and then you do the 2-5-1 in B flat, and then the 2-5-1 again in G minor. But then there's a little twist. You get to the flat 6 by doing a 2-5 to the flat 6, which all that is F minor to B flat 7 to E flat 7 to D7 with the altered whatever back to the 1. Okay, those are the changes, and I go through it in more detail and more slowly in my other video. You can also get a real book or whatnot. There, it's all over the place. Okay, so we just did all of the modes. Oh yeah, I don't know if I showed you E. Yeah, I showed you E flat. Okay, so you've got all that. Practice that and get that smoothly. Start at like 40 beats per minute if you don't know it yet. It's okay to go like, look at your next note, get your hands ready, be relaxed. With a metronome, always with a metronome, especially if you're going slowly, because you want to make sure that you can really get the time solid, and then eventually you get it fast. Okay? That's part 1, know your modes. Part 2, use motifs, motivic development. This is one of my favorite things about really great music in any genre is motivic development. When you hear melodic continuity and you hear these melodies that are soaring and beautiful, often it has to do with motivic development and the use of goal notes, but I talk about that in other videos. I might not talk about that in this. So if I were to solo and use a motif over this, let's say I just did the melody. That's a motif. How are you going to follow that up? So you were just doing a motif in the mode of, well, it's actually the same mode from C Dorian to F dominant 7. Both of those work in that. So you know, this is your C Dorian, and this is also your F dominant 7 mode. Do you understand? Write a comment if you don't understand, and I'll try to explain it better. But all of these notes work in both of those modes. So now I want to take that motif and develop it. So the most simple form of motivic development is repetition in a different context. So now you're resolving to the B flat. Did you get that? It was the same exact shape. But it worked in the next modes that you were on. And it's actually all similar. When you get down to it, it's all very similar to just the basic G Dorian. Yeah, just look at how similar all these modes are to G Dorian, because you don't stray too far in this song. So that's your motif. This is the development of the motif. Now we're on E flat. Now we're about to get back to G, so let's take it down another step. So you've repeated it 3 times, descending, descending, and now you want to do something that's not exact. If you were to just do, that would be a little boring, right? So you want to say something a little bit different. Answer it with a variation. Right? So what I would have just done was repeat the same motif 3 times, descending over the modes over which I'm playing in the song, and then end it with something that's a little bit of an unexpected conclusion. But still works because you're still descending. So it's like... So, okay, did you see what I did there? I did that first motif and descended it, and then unexpected resolution, and then I took that motif and I developed it in a different way. Instead of, so the beginning was the same, da 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 da. I could have gone down, but instead I went up. And it's still, and I kept in the same mode pattern. And that ending I did wasn't that interesting, but maybe you make it like a little more interesting there. Go to the major 7 of the minor chord. So that's motivic development. Let's just say that I continued to, that I just did what I did. That was the ending, the resolution of my motivic development for the A section. Now, what I would do is take into account the note I just played and figure out what is the next interesting thing that can be done with that in the context of everything that I played before it. You don't really have to think about this intellectually as you're doing it, but it's good to understand it intellectually before you do it, because it will fall into your playing more easily if you understand it. So maybe I just did that. Maybe I'll continue to do that in the new context and it'll be interesting. Whoops. See, that didn't work over the chord. So I have to change the chord. Instead of doing a diminished, I'm going to do a minor with a regular natural 5. Because E, this is something that one would do on the fly. If you felt like melodically the note was leading to the E natural, I would not force myself to make it an E flat, because the E flat is the flat 5 and that makes it diminished. And the normal chord you do here is A diminished, right? In the form, or at the beginning of the B section. But you don't have to. You can change the mode a little bit. And it's actually really pretty. So that's the 5 of the 2, the natural 5. That's a pretty melody, right? And that all came from that ending. So now the ending of the previous phrase. And how I built that in my mind was I took the ending, and then I just repeated it over the new context again. And then I continued it. And so this is a simple way of learning to solo and having it be very effective, but this is absolutely the way you should start, because if you start by trying to play a bunch of notes, it will not be music, it will just be a bunch of notes. This is how classical compositions are made. This is how great songs of the modern day are made, like the actual great ones, not most of the stuff that's out there. But I'm gonna play a little bit more just simple motivic development so you can see and try to catch what I'm doing based on what I just told you about. So let's say we finish the song. Sorry, I'm really tired. Same motif, I'm just going up, right? So you get that, you get that. I'm sorry, I'm so exhausted. I'm trying to actually practice what I preach here, but I think you get the idea of what's going on. I'm going to go in a little deeper here on another thing. So there's your motivic development, but another cool thing to do is to make sure you can hit the 3 of every chord. Really the 3 and the 7. So you have your first chord, which is the C minor, so make sure you can go. Right? Is that too fast? Maybe so. I'll just say the chords: C minor with E flat, which is the 3. F7, with A, which is the 3. B flat with D, which is the 3. G to A minor with C is the 3. D7. I'm using the flat 9 with F sharp as the 3. Then back to G minor with B flat as the 3. Right? So now, once you can do that, try leading to the 3, right? With some, like, up or down or something, like... See, that's half the battle right there. Now you're outlining the chords. Kind of cool. It's like right there, and it's pretty. It's not incredibly motivically advanced or anything like that, but that's how you can start, and then you can start developing motifs around the 3 if you want. Oh, sorry, rest on the right chord. everything up right now. But that's the idea. Okay. The very, very last thing I'm going to show you, because that's enough to get started. Just pay attention to tension release. When you have... The reason that you focus on a 3 is because it's part of the tritone that leads to the next section. That leads to the next note. So the 2-5-1 to B flat is based on the tritone resolution of E flat and A to D and B flat. Right? It's pretty easy. That's the tritone resolution. But it's thicker here because you have your minor and your dominant 7 both with that tritone in it, and then you got your resolution. So just pay attention to these notes which lead to each other. This note leads to this note because you're leading to the 3 of the next chord. Right? And then this note, if you're going to G minor, pay attention to the notes that are leading up to the G, because the tritone resolution that's happening here is that, because that's that's how you resolve a minor. It's actually an upside down major chord. It literally flipped on its head intervallically, but I won't go into that here because that's really, really complicated. For now, just know that this leads to this. So this note leads to this note, and this note leads to this note. And if you can remember that in these, in the 2-5-1s, it's if you're looking at B flat as the 1, it's the 4 that leads to the 3, and the 7 that leads to the 1. So still when you're in the 2, you can think of it like that. Doesn't that sound great? That is just this, taking a little detour up there and then going back down there. Or this. It's a little obvious, right? Because it goes from the 7 to the 1. But then it keeps going. And then now you've got a 2-5 to the G minor, so you want to use those tension notes. Right? There was just this to this, basically taking a little detour up. Or this. I hate doing that very obvious one. That's why I put that instead of just that, because it's too obvious. But maybe you want to be obvious to start. Just don't do it too much in jam sessions and stuff. Let's see. This is. I'm gonna give a little bit more of an example of how to use that tension release. These specific notes lead to other specific notes. This leads to that. That leads to that. That leads to that. That leads to that. That's almost all you have to know in this song. See, I just like convoluted it, but it was this to this. How I just use this to this? You get the idea. I'm sorry I'm so tired, Natasha, but I hope that gives you some great stuff to work on. There's some specific practice ideas in there, like scales over the modes, motivic development, pick one motif and use it all over in upside down, different iterations, and it'll give you consistency. And then use the thirds, practice going through the thirds and being able to play the thirds and lead up to the thirds and go away from the thirds, and then practice the resolution of tension notes, which I just described to you. Woo! That's a lot of stuff.